In today's episode, a man-eating shark off the coast of New Zealand sets its eyes on the local surfing population as its next meal. The shark goes on a killing spree, killing 2 surfers back-to-back. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. Welcome to Final Affliction. 25-year-old Cameron Bayes was from New Zealand's North Shore, a region incorporating the largest city, Auckland. He was a keen surfer, so when he married the love of his life, Tina Marie, he took his surfboard with them on their honeymoon. The young couple headed to Australia's west coast of South Australia. They planned to travel around the country for 6 months. After a few days spent relaxing on the beaches and surfing, the couple then planned to head to Western Australia to do some shearing. On September 23, 2000, Cameron and Tina Marie set up camp at Cactus Beach campground, situated 14 miles from the town of Penang. The beach was a magnificent place to watch the surfers riding the waves. Sat on top of the dunes, campers would watch the spectacle even as dusk set in. But Cameron wasn't there to watch the surfers. He was there to hit the waves himself. The following morning, at first light, Cameron unzipped the tent and headed out for a surf. He said goodbye to his wife and walked the short distance from the campsite to the beach. It was 6:15 in the morning, and as he paddled out to sea, he was the only one out there. It was a magical spot, looking back at the golden sands bordered by the rocky cliffs. The rising sun's warm glow reflected off the ocean as Cameron bobbed up and down on his board. But there was a marine predator swimming towards him that he couldn't see and didn't know about. It was a great white shark around 5 meters, 16 feet long. As always, the opportunistic hunter was on the search for potential prey when it spotted the shadow of Cameron at the surface. The waves were breaking about 50 meters offshore. Dry land wasn't far away. Also up early that morning was 44-year-old father Jeff Lincoln from Port Lincoln. He was on a camping trip with his 2 children. They sat on the dunes watching Cameron surfing the waves as the sun came up. But the serenity of the scene was about to change dramatically, something that neither witness would ever forget. Suddenly, Cameron felt something knock into his board. The force of the hit sent him flying into the water. The great white had struck him from underneath without warning and without fear. Cameron was shocked at first, and then the adrenaline began kicking in. He saw the enormous jaws of the shark as it came at him. He lashed out with his fists, trying to push the shark away, trying to punch it on the snout. He reached around for his board and managed to pull himself on top of it. Then he turned and paddled furiously for the shore. It looked for a split second that he might make it and get away from the shark, but the predator came back for more. From the shore, Jeff and his children could see the attack unfolding. Just as Cameron had managed to paddle a few feet away from the shark, it grabbed his leg and pulled him off his board once more. It now had him held firmly in its jaws and thrashed its body from side to side as it drove Cameron around and around in a circle. Those watching on in horror could see the commotion in the water and knew something was wrong. Then they saw the dark gray body of the shark arch up and out of the water and the surfer being thrown around like a rag doll. Camping ground owner Ron Gates immediately called the emergency services, while some of the other campers rushed to the beach. One of those campers to witness the horrific attack was Peter Ryan, a 43-year-old from Moana Beach. He said the shark created a whirlpool which dragged Cameron down. Then a wave crashed over them. There was a flash of red in the water, and then nothing. Peter caught the last 30 seconds of the 90-second attack and said that it seemed to last forever. Looking out over the water in absolute horror, there was nothing anybody could do except witness the gruesome and heart-wrenching attack. A few pieces of Cameron's mangled board were picked up by searchers who scoured the ocean for any sign of the young man's body. When the news reached his wife, Tina Marie, she was taken to Ceduna Hospital in a state of severe shock. What was supposed to be the happiest time of their lives ended in tragedy. No trace of Cameron was ever found, and it is thought that he was almost entirely consumed by the shark. He was the second person that year to be attacked by a shark at Cactus Beach. Early in February, Anthony Hayes was grabbed by a great white, but only managed to break free when his best friend rushed over and punched the shark in the eye repeatedly. He was lucky to survive, and when he heard about the loss of Cameron, it brought home to him just how lucky he had been. But for another young surfer, his luck was about to run out just 36 hours after Cameron was taken at Cactus Beach. This time it was 17-year-old Javon Wright who took to the water. He regularly surfed at Elliston, situated 200 miles south of Cactus Beach, still in the Great Australian Bight. Javon and his friends jumped into the water near Black's Reef. Black's is a notoriously heavy wave that surfers brave every day. It is said to be haunted, not only from various tragedies that have befallen swimmers and surfers in the shark-infested waters, but from a massacre that occurred in 1849 between Europeans and Aborigines. The violent nature of the wave is said to be fueled by the anger of these souls who perished during the massacre. Joining Javon and his friends on their surf that day was Javon's girlfriend's father. They had spent the late morning surfing and, as afternoon approached, decided to call it a day. It was just before 1 p.m. when Javon headed for the shore. He paddled away from the surf along with his friends, ready to grab some food and meet up with his girlfriend. But something would put an end to those plans. It was enormous, every surfer's worst nightmare. A great white, measuring 18 to 20 feet long, 5 to 6 meters, soared up through the water column. It made a beeline directly for Javon. When the youngster was just 30 meters from reaching the jagged shoreline, the shark struck. Javon was sent flying into the air. The impact was immense, and Javon didn't have time to scream or cry out. His friends turned and saw the enormous shark right next to them. As Javon crashed back down into the water, probably disoriented from the hit and unaware of what just happened, the shark struck again. One of Javon's friends watched in horror as the mammoth predator grabbed hold of Javon and disappeared beneath the turbulent surface. That was it. There was no sign of Javon ever again. He had been consumed by the shark in a matter of seconds. Just 2 strikes, and he was gone. There was no long, drawn-out struggle, and no chance of his friends rescuing him. The attack had been too rapid for anyone, let alone Javon, to respond. Those who had been just feet from him when the incident happened and who had just spent a great time surfing with him were left shocked, stunned, and horrified by what happened. One of the fellow surfers swam into the water to retrieve Javon's board. Only the top third remained. The rest had been taken by the shark along with Javon. Having 2 lethal shark attacks happen just 36 hours apart, and both within the same stretch of coastline, led some to speculate whether there was a man-eater on the prowl. But shark experts were quick to point out that it was unlikely for the same shark to travel 200 miles after killing the first victim. Although great whites can travel great distances in a single day, it appeared that these 2 attacks were coincidence. The nature of the 2 attacks are considered extremely rare. Although fatalities do happen from shark attacks, they are typically from the first initial bite. This is a test bite that the shark does to see if a human is worthy prey or not. More than 80% of the shark attacks are hit-and-run style attacks with a bite and release. However, due to the damage of a single bite, many people bleed out from that test bite. It is rare for a shark to continue to attack a person and eat them. They typically recognize humans as a biological failure, as we take more energy than we give, so we are not a prey item. That said, with the rise in water sports and water activities, there are bound to be more human-shark interactions, and whether a shark perceives us as prey or not, it only takes 1 bite before you meet your terrifying final affliction.